Broly, the legendary Super Saiyan. A Saiyan with a limitless amount of potential. He and his father were stranded on the desolate Vampa. Here is where Broly would continue to grow his potential. For 40 years, Paragus trained Broly with a heavy hand and formed him into the warrior he is now. Through grueling training and pure rage, Broly was able to keep up with and exceed the power of Goku and Vegeta, eventually leading to not just the introduction of our favorite legendary Super Saiyan, but the introduction of one of the most amazing fusions in Dragon Ball history. But what if Broly wasn't sent to Vampa? What if Broly was sent to Earth? Paragus pleads with King Vegeta to spare his boy. King Vegeta tells Paragus that his son was already sent off planet and that he was too late. As Paragus tries to flee to chase after his son, King Vegeta kills Paragus. The chances of Paragus having another son were too great, and King Vegeta's pride led him to killing the frantic father. Broly's pod flies through deep space and touches down on Earth. A familiar old man stumbles upon the young Saiyan.
Oh, I know. I'll call you Goku.
From here to the end of the video, we are going to look at this from a highlight standpoint. We're going to take each major event that happened in Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball and swap Goku and Broly, their characteristics, power, all of it. But his name is going to stay Goku in this universe, but I will be calling him Broly as to not confuse myself and the viewers. Here's the issue with Dragon Ball though. Broly would absolutely decimate every single antagonist in Dragon Ball. Think about it, Broly as a child marooned on Vampa, his power level at arrest was 920. Goku's as an adult, when Raditz came to Earth, was around 420. So, Broly would still train with Roshi, which would ramp up his power even more. He would mess up Jackie Chun in the martial arts tournament, obliterate General Tao, wipe out the Red Ribbon Army, and still punch his way through King Piccolo as if he were warm butter. Broly would absolutely steamroll through any threat that showed up in Dragon Ball. Could you imagine how he would have reacted to Tambourine killing Krillin? Let's just jump into Dragon Ball Z. After the events of Dragon Ball, Broly has a similar life to the original Goku. But instead of having a nice mountainside property with Chi-Chi, Broly would go back to Master Roshi's and continue training, and run into a familiar face. Broly and Launch, while both still staying at Roshi's, would form a connection, and I think they would be together. The idea of Broly being with Launch is amazing, because Launch and Broly have such similar personality types. We see in the Broly movie, Broly is willing to step in to protect Chi-Lai, but has a temper, but overall is a very kind-hearted person. Launch is sweet and caring, but it only takes a sneeze to change into a crazed criminal, but then it only takes a sneeze to transform her back. These two being so similar, it would be a great pick for Broly. Broly and Launch have a son, they name him Gohan. Keep in mind, this Gohan will be pretty similar to one we have now, but with Broly's genetics. That would be wild. In Dragon Ball Z, Raditz goes to Earth to find Goku, his younger brother, but Broly didn't have any siblings that we know of. So Raditz would have been sent to Earth to round up any remaining Saiyans to help in Vegeta's overthrow of Frieza. And since Raditz was seen as a lower class warrior, he would have been tasked with an errand like this. To understand Broly's power and where it would be at this point, we have to first understand the original Goku and Broly's power. At the beginning of Dragon Ball, Goku had a power level of only 10, and it went up to a little under 400 when he was powered up against Piccolo Jr. at the end of the 23rd World Martial Arts Tournament. That's almost a 400 point increase, which is a pretty amazing all things considered. Broly, on the other hand, like we talked about, was at 920 as a child. And if he would have absolutely dog-walked everyone in Dragon Ball, his power increase wouldn't be nearly as much percentage-wise. But for the sake of this video, I'm going to give him just that small 300 point increase. Raditz's power, on the other hand, would probably just remain the same. Just like before, Raditz would try to recruit Broly and Gohan. Raditz would then try to take Gohan from Broly once he declined his offer. But this is no ordinary Goku. Broly would stand his ground. Raditz would land his first couple of jabs, but Broly would start powering up. His anger would fuel his power to rise. He and Raditz would trade blows until ultimately Broly would overpower the long-haired Saiyan. In his dying breath, Raditz let them know that 3 other Saiyans heard the whole interaction and will be coming to Earth in 1 year to finish the job. Piccolo shoots a ki blast at Raditz, killing him. Broly and Piccolo face off, but Krillin becomes a voice of reason. He tells them that he would love to see this battle unfold, but they have an even bigger threat coming to Earth in just 1 year, and they need to prepare for it. Piccolo flies off and trains on his own. Broly talks with Krillin and Roshi about training for the Saiyans. Roshi, while honored, tells Broly that there is no more he can teach him, that he has surpassed every measure of power Roshi could have hoped for. He suggests that Broly and Gohan go to Kami's tower to get some guidance on training. Broly and Gohan say goodbye to Launch and head for the Guardian's home. Broly and Gohan arrive at Kami's place. Mr. Popo welcomes Broly like an old friend. Broly asks Popo if he can speak to Kami. Mr. Popo calls out to Kami and the old Guardian comes to greet them. Kami asks how he can be of any service. Broly informs Kami of the impending doom that is the Saiyan's arrival. He asks Kami if Kami could train him and Gohan. Kami tells him that he wouldn't be much help, but he knows of someone who can help. Kami reaches out to King Kai and asks if Broly and Gohan could train on his planet. King Kai is hesitant, but after Kami informs him of the Saiyans, King Kai agrees and transports them to his cozy planet. Upon their arrival, Broly and Gohan lay flat on the ground. The gravity being so much heavier than on Earth, the father and son struggled to get to their feet. They tell King Kai their jokes to get him to agree to train them. They of course start with Bubbles. Gohan is up first, while Broly attempts to walk along the planet. Gohan, being strong-willed, kept trying harder and harder to catch the speeding bullet that was Bubbles. After a few days, Gohan was finally able to catch him. Now it was Broly's turn. Since he had a few more days to become accustomed to the gravity difference, Broly made short work of Bubbles. After they both caught Bubbles, they moved on to Gregory. After Gregory, it was time for them to start the real training. Back on Earth, the other Z-Fighters trained at Kami's lookout, while Piccolo used his mind and image training to beef himself up. Months pass as Broly and Gohan train hard and make themselves stronger. Gohan and Broly spar for a bit, each one of their power levels and rage rising. King Kai's small planet begins to shake, the ground beneath them cracking under King Kai's feet. The Saiyans look at King Kai, puzzled. He tells them their rage needs to be controlled. To let their rage roam freely could be catastrophic. King Kai helps them focus on their energy levels while training and keeping them at manageable levels and not letting their anger get the best of them. They continue to train while also controlling their rage. King Kai senses their powers and sees that they have indeed exceeded his expectations, but he's still worried that they may not be strong enough to take on the 3 Saiyan warriors. With their rage and potential power still an issue, King Kai decides that if it meant putting a stop to the terrible power that is these Saiyans, he will teach Broly and Gohan the Kaioken technique. For those of you that aren't aware, the Kaioken technique is a fighting technique that amplifies the user's speed, power, and strength. We mainly see this being used when Goku fights Nappa and Vegeta, and then again, the coolest way to use it to amplify his powers while in Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan against Hit. Broly being as strong and unpredictable as he is, you can understand how this could become a problem. If he chooses to amplify his power too high, he could end up destroying the planet. And finally, a year had come and gone. 3 Saiyan pods touch down on Earth. The Z-Fighters gather and await their fate. Broly and Gohan ask Kami to help them get back to Earth, and they take off and make their way to the battlefield.
Look at this little bunch of low-level warriors,
Vegeta said. Piccolo, Tien, Chaozu, and Yamcha look on in horror because they can sense the power of the Saiyans and fear they may be in over their heads. Nappa looks Piccolo up and down and asks if he can have the first shot. Vegeta looks over the Z-Fighters and demands to know where the Saiyan that killed Raditz was. Piccolo informs them that he's on his way, but Piccolo would gladly be first up to bat. Nappa again pleads with Vegeta to let him have some fun. Vegeta nods and Nappa asks who's first. Before anyone can step forward, Nappa charges at Piccolo. Piccolo does his best to fend off the oversized Saiyan, but Nappa proves to be a formidable foe. One by one, unfortunately, each Z-Fighter falls at the hands of Nappa. All except Krillin. Krillin was up next when Broly and Gohan finally arrived on the scene. Broly scanned the battleground, and saw his friends lying dead in the dirt. Broly, doing his best to control his power, asks who killed his friends. Nappa laughs, and Broly asks them to leave before any more lives are lost. Nappa charges Broly, and Nappa is dispatched with ease.
Kakarot, it's your turn. Clean up this trash that Nappa left behind.
I'm always cleaning up his trash,
Kakarot said with a smirk. Before we get into this fight with Broly and Kakarot, we need to first understand where each fighter is power-wise. When Goku died and was sent to King Kai's place like stated before, his power level was at about 420, and when he returned, it rose to...
It's over 9,000!
when he was powered up, and then 2, 3, and 4 times that during Kaioken. Kakarot, being what is essentially a space pirate, I would assume was always getting into battles and constantly fighting, so his power would probably be much stronger than Nappa, but still lower than Vegeta. Now let's say Broly got the same power buff that Goku did while on King Kai's world. That means his power level at fully charged would be around 25,000. Now, for the sake of this video, we're going to give Broly the same buff that the OG Goku got, putting him right under 11,000. Kakarot and Broly go toe-to-toe. Krillin and Gohan look on in awe, while Vegeta watches Broly's form. The two Saiyans trade blows back and forth. Kakarot uppercuts Broly and he flies up. He grabs his ankle, pulls him back down, and knees him in the face. Broly grunts in pain. Kakarot has the upper hand, but Broly's rage quickly closes the gap. Broly stops one of Kakarot's punches mid-form and begins to crush his fist in his hand. Kakarot powers up and maxes out his power. He kicks Broly and puts him through a mountain. With every blow, Broly thinks about his friends falling at the hands of these Saiyans. Broly's rage flows and he powers up to Kaioken ×2. He flies towards Kakarot and starts to put a beating on him with a staggering combination. Each fist landing fuels Broly's anger even more. His power soars. He's eventually able to subdue Kakarot. Kakarot hits the ground and Broly puts his foot over the Saiyan's head. He remembers his grandfather's teachings to control his rage, and calms his anger and lowers his power.
Take your remaining man and leave peacefully, and no more harm will come to you,
Broly says to Vegeta. Vegeta looks on in astonishment. As Vegeta walks over, he grabs Kakarot's arm and tosses him towards his Saiyan pod and out of the way. Vegeta powers up. The sky changes colors. Gohan and Krillin watch in horror as Vegeta powers up to fight Broly. Broly tells Gohan and Krillin to leave the area. They leave and Broly and Vegeta start to brawl. Vegeta, fueled by his pride to kill the lone Saiyan, proved to be a force to be reckoned with. Vegeta is almost too fast to keep up with. He flashes in front of Broly and then behind again and pummels Broly's body. Broly does his best to keep up, but there is quite a large gap to clear. Vegeta shows Broly that he is in fact the superior warrior. Vegeta delivers a gut punch to Broly. Broly hunches over in pain. Vegeta taunts Broly and punches him down to the ground. Broly falls to the earth, creating a crater. He gets up, wipes the blood from his lip, and powers up again. As the fight goes on, however, Broly uses his Kaioken technique to fuel his rage and grow his power even more. The fight lasts what seems to be hours. We end up at a standstill. Vegeta was enraged that this lower class warrior was able to keep up with him. Vegeta charges up his Gallic gun and launches it at Broly. Broly, using the teachings of his old master, counters with his own. The beams clash. Vegeta seems to have the upper hand, but Broly quickly unleashed his rage and anger, overpowering Vegeta. The fight seems to be over. Broly does his best to deal with his anger.
You think you stand a chance against the Prince of all Saiyans?
Vegeta says as he creates a small orb in his hand. He launched it into the sky and began to transform. Fur started to cover his body. His power is rising. Vegeta turned into the Great Ape. Sensing a horrendous power, Gohan and Krillin turn back and head in the direction of the power source. Broly looks on in horror as this giant creature snaps him up. Vegeta starts to squeeze the life out of him. With every squeeze, he can feel his bones snapping. Vegeta taunts Broly, saying that after I'm done crushing you, I'm gonna find your son and crush him too. This lights some sort of fire inside Broly. He powers up even higher than before. He blasts his way out of Vegeta's hand. Vegeta and Broly are back at it once again, trading blows. Great Ape Vegeta is just too fast though. He smashes Broly to the ground. Broly flies up and blasts Vegeta with an energy wave, throwing him backwards. The fighting continues until Broly is able to overcome Vegeta. He beats the giant ape to a pulp. Broly stands over the giant ape, looking down at him, rage contorting his face. In his palm, he powers up a powerful energy blast. Just before he can deliver the finishing blow, Gohan pleads with his father to spare him. Broly's face, twisted with rage, sees his son, and his power starts to drop. Krillin tells Broly that for him to change back, they would have to cut off Vegeta's tail. They cut off his tail and tell him to gather Kakarot and to never return to Earth. Vegeta hobbled to Kakarot, and they took off in their pods, vanishing into space. With the fight over, Broly's rage wears off and his body aches. Even though Broly's whole shtick is to power up to match his opponent's power, the Kaioken technique still takes a toll on his body. Gohan and Krillin help Broly back home to recover. Gohan, excited to revive Piccolo, tells Broly they have to start looking for the Dragon Balls as quickly as possible. Broly then has to remind Gohan that without Piccolo, there's no Kami, and without Kami, there's no Dragon Balls. As they talk it over, Mr. Popo stops by to lend a helping hand. Thank you guys so much for watching. This story is definitely not over. In the next episode, I'm going to explore what would happen when Broly and Gohan go to Namek. Let me know any ideas that you guys would have that you guys would like added to the next episode. And as always, like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you next time.